Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, I was going to have a few more truck videos coming out. I wanted to take this time to try to work on some of the exterior to make it look a little bit better. I've gone ahead and bought some matte black vinyl wrap, and then I've got some spray paint to try to refinish the fender flares. So the fender flares are purely cosmetic, they're not functional. We didn't cut out any of the body when we put them on. It was mainly just to hide some of the rust. We treated the rust with that Por 15 rust encapsulator. It was worse on the bed, so we got the fender flares to try to cover up some of the rust. Now over time, the rust has kind of escaped what we encapsulated, and it's continued to grow. So I don't want to pull off the fender flares as they're just 3M adhesive taped on. So I don't want to remove them. So what I'm going to try to do is just tape out a region, potentially sand them down. The truck unfortunately has been street parked for a long time, especially when I was in the Bay Area. It got scraped a couple times and it's been on a lot of trails, so it's rubbed up against some trees. And then just over time, the finish on the fender flares have faded. So I'll try to sand it down just to get a nice even surface. And then I'm simply going with some matte black spray paint just to try to get an even coat on them. The other thing I'll be working on are the side door molding trims, I guess you would call them. Again, these are also just adhesive tape holding them on, but I don't want to pull them off as I'll just have to apply the tape again. So I'm going to try to apply the vinyl wrap to the molds while they're still on the door. I went ahead and bought some of this knifeless tape that's supposed to be used with wrap to help, cut out better lines, so I'm not like putting the blade on the paint or anything like that. So hopefully that helps with a little bit cleaner of an install. So that's kind of the game plan for today. I got two little cosmetic mods to go around the truck, and hopefully it makes it look a little bit better. To start off here, because I didn't wash the truck outside, I'm just going to clean where the vinyl wrap's going to go down. And I just have some really dilute dish soap that I'm just going to rub it on, try to get off any dirt that I can see, like I have a little bit of splatter up here, and then I'll wipe it clean with another towel, and then that should kind of prep the surface for me. The red rags leave a lot of fiber, so I definitely want to follow it back up with the nicer microfiber towel to make sure that I have nothing kind of sitting on the surface. So I've gone ahead and run 2 lines of the cutting tape. I have one going across the top, and then a new one starting just because I was having trouble getting it to move around the curve. So then another one coming back at me. I've gone ahead and cut a strip. It's probably 2 inches longer than on either side. And then the size of the trim is about 3 inches. I cut this a little bit larger than that just to have some overhang. I'm not really sure how well it's going to stick to begin with before I press it on and then pull the tape out to cut it. So I'll go ahead and start to remove the backing and get it pressed on, and I'll probably start in the middle of the ridge and kind of work the material outwards just to try to minimize any bubbles that I'll have. So now with the bulk of the vinyl in place, it's not fully tucked in on some of the edges. And I went and made sure that it's stuck on either side so that the tape has some resistance. And at this point, I think I'll try to see how easily this tape pulls through. First wrap job, not great. I mean, I obviously could do a lot better. I think the bottom side looks better than the top side. I must have had the cutting tape a little bit too close to the edge, so not enough was able to wrap around and kind of tuck in on the top side of the trim. The bottom side has a little bit more of an overhang, so that was able to tuck in nicely. The ends started to bubble up a little bit, and then there's one piece right in the middle that has a slight bubble, and I actually tried to smooth it out and I popped it. So there is a little pinhole in the middle. I did get 3M vinyl, so I thought it was a little bit thicker than what it was, but still pretty easy to poke a hole in. I do think the actual black trim looks better from the back side. So I've gone ahead and skipped a few steps off camera. I went down and sanded it just with a 400 grit. It feels smoother. I probably shouldn't be touching that as I'm gonna paint, but it feels smoother. There's still definitely some divots where the gray portions kind of like wore off the paint or wore off whatever coating material this is. After that, wiped it down with mineral spirits just to clean it up and get rid of any of like the sanding dust. Went ahead and put a line of blue tape all the way around, and then I taped this bag up, put another bag over the wheel just to try to protect those from the paint. It's just the paint and primer, satin black, nothing crazy. I really just want to hit some of these areas to make sure that it'll look good and, you know, coat through everything. Probably start with the inside. There is some of the peeling on this inside part. I'll try it there, see how well this color matches. I think it should be fairly close. I'm not trying to match it because I do plan to do all 4 of them, but I think it'll take me a couple days to get through everything, so I just don't want it looking too obvious right away. It's not like I'm going with a gloss color, so I'll go ahead, start spraying this up and see how it looks. You can clearly see where this big scratch is. Probably should have sanded that down a little bit deeper. Go ahead and give this about an hour to dry, and then I'll peel. I might apply a second coat or just peel off the tape and see how it looks. Now I know I'm a little bit more cramped on this side. I guess my original plan, I thought I would have flipped the truck around. There's a little bit more room on the side with the BMW, but here we are. We should be able to make this work. So I had a little bit easier of a time putting on the tape. I gave myself a lot more room. I guess I could always go back and trim if need be. One thing I've noticed already about working with the vinyl, it's the backing plate that's the curled up section from being in a roll. So once you get that off, it maintains kind of a linear shape for the actual vinyl, which I think makes it a lot more easy to work with. That first cut I always find hard to get the the cutting tape started. Breaking into it's a little difficult. There's probably a trick to make that easier, but once you get going, it really does just slide real nice. And for this one, I do have one continuous strand. So at the front, we should be able to navigate that turn. And bring it back. I went a little bit high right there, so we'll have to probably trim up. And all the tape's gone. Now that I have the tape and all the excess removed, I'll go ahead and just smooth out our edges. The top already is looking a lot better. I guess I cut it a little too close in the front corner, so there's a lot of white showing. Well, so far I have 2 of the 4 door trims wrapped black, and then the worst of the fender flares sanded and painted. So I'm 3/8 of the way there, but it's been a good day in the garage, just working on some personal projects here, trying to, have a little bit of fun and get the truck looking a little bit better. I would say that the vinyl wrap has grown on me as I work through the driver's side. Driver's side went down a lot smoother, and I feel like I even learned a lot just from doing it twice now. I'll probably go ahead and buy some more to do the passenger, the rear doors on the truck, and see what that looks like all done. Because right now it's a little jarring having a black one and a white one. and I still definitely have to work on the edges, so maybe I can watch some videos on how to do that a little bit better. But I think for my first time it looks pretty good, and it'll be enough for me to leave it on there now and not just immediately rip it back off. And for the fender flares, like I said, I'm working on the worst one first, especially ones like this. Although it starts to have some pitting in it, it's not as ripped up as that back one. So I can definitely live with the other ones for a little bit longer until I get around to painting them. But all in all, I think the truck's starting to look a little bit better, and I definitely want it, to be a nice truck. It runs great. It still looks good, but some of the rust and some of the older parts on it are starting to show its age. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to see some more.